Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Angus McSix, Angus McSix and the all-seeing Astral Eye, out March 13th on Napalm Records. The album has 11 tracks, 43 minutes in length, and this is the band's second full-length studio album. They are an international power metal band. Now, from a design standpoint, as you could expect, this being a concept album, the design of the album matches the story, matches the concept, and really helps develop it. Where I think this album is different, not just from the way the album is designed, but from the concept's perspective, is that it really feels like I'm there with the characters, and they know that I'm there with them. So the interaction between the story, the way the story develops, and the listener feels a lot more seamless. It allows you to connect better with it. It allows you to lose yourself in it, become immersed by the experience, get the most out of the individual songs, the themes, the stories within those songs, and then feel completely immersed in what the overall big picture is all about. I really enjoy the concept on the record because the concept was just easily explained to me, easily developed, and allowed me to feel like I was taking the right steps at the right time in order to understand exactly not just where I was, but where I was going. As far as the sound is concerned, this is a modern power metal sounding album, which means it has a lot of electronics, it has a lot of synths, it has a lot of sci-fi style sounds, but also it brings in forward a very 80s themed overall sonic perspective. I love that aspect of the record because I think the sound itself at times feels out of place when it comes to this more modern power metal sound. I feel like there's too many bands relying heavily on synths, on keyboards, on electronic elements, and they're losing a little bit of the metal in their sound. That is still true in this record to a certain extent, but you have to be conscious of the theme, of the concept behind the album. You have to be conscious of the lore behind Angus McSix, and all of that plays a factor. When I was listening to this album, more than a concept, more than a storytelling, I felt like I was listening to an audio book. I felt like I was listening to an audiobook of my favorite cartoon of the 80s. This whole record feels like a snapshot, like a season of my favorite cartoon, Angus McSix, from that era, from the 80s. And especially from the 80s because of the soundscape, those synths, those electronic elements, very new wave, really represents that time period extremely well. If you think about cartoon TV series of that time, like Thundercats, Transformers, this record falls in line with the way those series came together, in terms of the way the story is being told, in terms of how it interacts with the audience, but more importantly, the soundscape that they created brought the stories to life, the individual stories that are with each and every single song, and then obviously the overall concept of the record itself. And I think that is an important aspect. You need to create a soundscape on a record that matches as closely as possible the themes and the stories being told as part of the lyrical content and the concept of the album. On this record, I felt like they flawlessly met these criterias. The sound really helps develop the characters, it helps develop the story, helps develop the different moments within the story, and then the songs just blossom to life with so much energy, and you're not as concentrated on finding the metal moments within the record. Where's the heavier guitars? Where's the heavier drums? Not to say that they don't exist on this album, but they don't become the focus of your attention. The attention is the overall sound, the essence that it creates, the experience that it brings forward, and how well connected with the landscape of the theme, of the concept of the album, how intertwined the two are. You could not have an album that's telling a story like this. You could not have an album that's part of the Angus McSix lore and be a very heavy guitar-driven album and not have a fantasy sound attached to it. How do you create that fantasy sound? With those synths, with those electronic elements. I absolutely love the soundscape of this album because they still allowed the drums to have size, to offer heaviness, to increase the footprint of the songs. The guitars still play a role on this record. They still add some heaviness. They still have some great riffs, some great melodies, some great solos. So every element plays a role on this album, but if there's one element that brings it all together, it's definitely the more electronic side of the record. But I think that was a must for an album that is part of this lore and that is trying to tell such a fantastic and full of epicness and fantasy laced story. So everything felt together and everything felt like it was pulling you in the right direction, even the vocals. This is an album that surprised me on that side, considering how many guest appearances there are. You have Turmion Katilot on this record, you had Freedom Call, Van Canto, Rhapsody of Fire. There's a lot of cameos on this album. So like a great movie that tells a great story, think of, for example, of The Avengers. One of the things that those movies always bring forward is cameos. And that is a part of the excitement that comes with that fantasy world. These guys did exactly the same stuff, but now on an album format. We're creating a fantasy world, we're creating a story that lives within that world. Not only we have to create the sound for it, we have to have the right cameos in order to bring that world to life. And that's exactly what they did by bringing these bands in to collaborate with them, so that you get the most out of every single element and you're able to tell the story to its fullest. Obviously, they also have a new singer. Adam McSix, in my opinion, is a great choice. I honestly thought it was going to be very difficult to replace Angus McSix, if you will, as the lead singer of the band. Adam McSix does a phenomenal job. I would go as far as to say, for this style, for this sound, for this approach as far as storytelling is concerned, these style of vocals, this approach, this delivery fits way better. This becomes a more complete record, top to bottom, musically, vocally, creatively, than the debut record by Angus McSix. This to me is a much better album. It fits better, it sounds better, and there's less of a connection, if you will, with the lore and the history and the birth of Angus McSix. This almost feels like a rebirth as far as the band is concerned and as far as what they can do. I like this direction a lot more than what I liked the debut record. And I hate comparing albums, but it's nearly impossible not to do it when this is their second full-length record with a new singer. So there's a lot of moving pieces. I thought they delivered a phenomenal album. Definitely, in my opinion, better than they did the debut record because it feels more complete. More complete across all of the different elements, but perhaps the most important one, the vocals fit better with this style, with this sound, than what they had before. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Techno Men. This track features Turmion Katilot. It's a really interesting song because it feels like a Turmion Katilot song. It also feels like an Electric Callboy song at times, specifically during the heavier electronic moments, because you feel the heaviness of the guitars, you feel the electronic side, something Electric Callboy does really well. But Turmion Katilot is another band that has perfected the ability to bring electronic elements, industrial metal, and techno, dance, whatever. Turmion Katilot can bring everything together and still make it very unique, very fresh, and very entertaining. And adding them to this song definitely fits the bill, and I think it completes the track. This would have been a very difficult song to do without the right cameo attached to it. And in my opinion, there were only two choices, Electric Callboy or Turmion Katilot. Only the two of them could give this song a sense of purpose, could really complete the track and make this one of the most exciting songs on the record. I love the techno sound, specifically in the chorus. The chorus is very techno. It has that sort of approach both from a musical standpoint but also as the vocals are delivered, and outside of that it really has more of a power metal style verses, so it makes the song feel very robust. It makes the song feel very complete. Then you have Ork Zero. The way the track opens up, it feels like you're starting up an 80s arcade game. It has that sort of vibe. The synths definitely help define that vibe, and overall is a track that really develops the more you get into it. It has a great chorus, super catchy, super hooky, massive volume, massive size once you get into that chorus, both on the musical side and the vocal side. And then on the verses you have more of a melodic containment, so the song feels more restrained, which also allows the vocals to jump a little bit higher and feel like they're leading more than following. Then obviously when you get to the chorus, the explosive nature of the chorus brings so much fun to the song, makes the song a lot more lighthearted, and it makes the track really vibrant. Last but definitely not least, the power of metal. This song features Freedom Call, and at times it feels like more a Freedom Call song than an Angus McSix song, but I think they found a happy medium. This is a total epic power metal style track. It feels like a fantasy style song. It has that sound, it has that vocal presence, it has the melodic delivery to it. Relies a lot heavier on the guitars and drums, a lot less on the synths. The synths help create a sense of epicness and really create a fantasy world surrounding the song. But when you look deeper into the track, you definitely see a heavier guitar impact, a heavier drum impact, making the song more power metal, straight up power metal at times, but emphasizing some core elements of fantasy, really bringing that epicness to the forefront, make the track feel larger than life at times. Great song, really unique in terms of the dynamics that it has. Obviously unique because it features Freedom Call, but also really unique because it's one of the few, if not the only song on this record, that it really feels like an epic power metal fantasy world style track. The other songs have other qualities to them, but this track sets itself apart because it has that different essence in terms of what it delivers and how it makes you feel towards it. This is it, Angus McSix with the new record, Angus McSix and the All-Seeing Astral Eye, once again out March 13th. Hit me up in the comment section, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.